Meanwhile, Donald Trump is reviving sexual assault accusations against Bill Clinton. Yesterday, the presumptive GOP nominee released an Instagram video, again highlighting unproven claims made against the former president. But in an interview just last night, Trump repeated his claim that he's only fighting back.
I'm only responding to what they do. They've been nasty. She's been very nasty. And I said, I'd like it to be on policy, Bill. I don't like doing that, but I have no choice. When she hits me on things, I just have no choice. So you have to do it. It's unfair. And, you know, they're dirty players. They've been dirty players historically. And I have to fight back the way I have to fight back.
Lots to parse here. We're now joined by political correspondent for GQ magazine, Jason Zengerle. He's in Raleigh, North Carolina for us. Lots to get to. You have a new piece, Jason, out. Bill Clinton's big moment, his health, his battle plan for Trump, and what he'll do if Hillary wins. So let's start with some of this news of the day, and specifically perhaps a battle plan for Donald Trump, who yesterday spoke of being a counterpuncher, but also floated, among other things, the fishy nature of former Clinton confidant Vince Foster's suicide. So how do you see the former president now looking to respond to these sorts of attacks?
I don't think he's going to respond to those attacks specifically. I don't think you're ever going to see the words Vince Foster pass his lips. I don't think he's going to talk about some of the allegations that have been leveled against him by various women. I think what President Clinton will be used to do is to question Donald Trump's temperament. I think he'll draw on his own experience in the White House and talk about that and raise questions about whether Trump would be suited to actually being in the White House. I think that's the plan that they have for President Clinton, to use him as someone who can actually question whether Trump is up to the job.
Interestingly, one Clinton advisor that you spoke to is quoted as saying, and I quote, "I can't recall a time that he was rattled or upset by a political attack on him. But when they're attacking his wife, it just really bothers him," end quote. Do people around Bill Clinton at this point believe that he will be able to perhaps keep some of that fury inside and in check better than he did, let's say, in 2008?
Well, and that's the big question. I think he's done a pretty good job of that during the primary against Bernie Sanders. He's for the most part stayed on script. He hasn't gone off the rails the way he did a few times in 2008 when his wife was running against Barack Obama. The real concern, I think, among Clinton people, though, is that Donald Trump is a completely unconventional candidate. He's going to level attacks on her that are so far below the belt of anything she's probably experienced before that I think there is some concern that he might fly off the handle. You know, on the plus side for the Clinton campaign, they have done a much better job this time around in 2016 than they did in 2008 in terms of, I don't want to use the word handle, but keeping President Clinton on a path that they find productive. They have people on the campaign who have very good, long-standing relationships with him. John Podesta is the campaign chairman. He was President Clinton's chief of staff in the White House. The campaign manager, Robbie Mook, who's a relative newcomer to Clinton land, is still someone that President Clinton has apparently developed a very strong relationship with. And I think there's hope there that because of those strong relationships, they'll be able to talk to him, you know, behind the scenes and keep him in such a place that he won't go flying off the handle.
Yeah, Trump ally and surrogate Roger Stone yesterday also said that, look, this is a part of essentially a concerted effort. We're going to reintroduce the Clintons to a generation of voters who perhaps didn't live with them through the 1990s. However, Long Island Congressman Peter King said yesterday as well that he's not sure that the thrust of that attack will work. It was something that Republicans tried in 1998 in the midterms, and it failed for them then. Is there a belief within the campaign that perhaps these things will stick or won't?
Well, so when I was reporting this piece, a month or two ago, and I was talking to various Clinton people, some of them were actually almost welcoming these kinds of attacks, thinking that these questions were, as they said, were asked and answered. And for the people who, say, are younger voters who hadn't heard them before, they weren't necessarily things that they were going to be troubled by. I was talking to one Clinton ally who's about President Clinton's age, and he said something along the lines of, this might be news to my grandkids, but my grandkids, with Caitlyn Jenner and gay marriage and things like that, they're not going to care about this stuff. That might have been a little too sanguine, but I do think that there is a sense that this sort of thing just it won't impact Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton in the way that the Trump people think it will. Then again, when I was talking to the Clinton people about this, these attacks were hypothetical. Now that they're actually happening, they're so ugly and they're so uncomfortable. I have to imagine that it's not something they would welcome. And even if they don't work, it's still an unpleasant thing that they're going to have to go through.
You spend a good deal of time in the piece as well discussing his look, that he does look perhaps, and that people close to him believe that he seems more tired, that he perhaps is more drawn, especially as he now beats the bushes, no longer, as you mentioned, leaving the arenas for the rock star as he sort of, does a minor league circuit, if you will. What is the concern about the state of his physical health as we look ahead to what could be a punishing summer on to November?
Well, all of the concern comes from people who are, seeing him occasionally, seeing him from a distance, sitting down with him from time to time, but not necessarily those people who are around him every day. But I think they see what we all see. He's gotten older. He's substantially thinner, which I think is because of his diet. He's now a vegan. But he also looks very drawn. Some of the people I talked to would talk about his facial expressions and things like that. I mean, this is all armchair stuff. There's no concrete evidence that there's anything physically wrong with him or he's in ill health. And the people closest to him vigorously dispute that. And they say, to the extent that he looks run down at the end of the day, well, it's a long day. He's on a long schedule. And he's almost 70 years old. And he's outlasting the 30-something reporters who are covering him. But I think there is a concern that, he's possibly lost a step. He doesn't quite have the same oratorical skills he used to have. He's maybe not quite as sharp. And I think that'll be a real question going forward in the campaign. He clearly in 2012 was up to the challenge, up to the task when the Obama campaign asked him to deliver that speech at the convention. Mm-hmm. And I'd imagine that this time around, his wife's campaign is going to ask him to do something similar. So far, he hasn't really been asked to do anything that major. Their strategy for him has been sending him to these smaller places where Hillary can't go herself because of the demands on her time. And he's been doing that. I think the real question will be when he's asked to step up to the plate and really play a major role, is he going to be able to do that? And the one thing about President Clinton, he usually does step up to the plate when he's asked to perform, and I think I would expect he'll be able to do that again this time around.
So those are questions of performance for now, but looking ahead, should his wife win, also the questions of what he would then do as first husband in the White House. His wife has said, Hillary Clinton has said that she would task him with revitalizing the economy, an economy czar of sorts. What does your reporting suggest would be in his future come 2017?
Well, that was the most specific she's been on that topic. She said that when she was in Kentucky, which I think, he's still very popular in Kentucky. He's certainly popular with working class voters there, and I think that's probably why she said that. The campaign and the people closest to them, they insist that they have not given this any thought. I don't think that's true. I think they have, but I don't think they've really thought out a formal role. Presidential spouses are always very influential, just because oftentimes they're the last person the president talks to. And I think in this instance, it's going to be a real potential benefit to Hillary Clinton if she were president that her spouse had done the job before. At the same time, it's going to introduce some complications in the sense that there are going to be two principals now. You're going to have a president and a former president in the White House. It was confusing when George W. Bush was president that his father had been president, but his father was back in Texas and was loath to meddle. President Clinton, Bill Clinton, would actually be in the White House. He is not someone who's reluctant to voice his concerns and voice his mind. And I can imagine a lot of instances where the staff is not quite sure who they're supposed to be responding to, who they're getting orders from.
Cannot suggest this piece highly enough. A thorough and very illuminating piece of reporting and writing. Jason Zengerle, we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.